Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about how we can sort a list. Okay. So if you remember in the previous tutorial, we discussed that how we can initialize a list and we can also specify values for our list at the time of initialization. I'm using the same format here. I'm initializing a list of string. I'm again naming it as names and I'm specifying 6 values here. So the first value is Richard Hendricks. The second one is Alec Bachman. Third one is Gavin Belson. Fourth one is Monica. The fifth one is Jared Dunn, and the sixth one is an empty value. So I've intentionally kept this empty value inside my list. And now what we are going to do is that we are going to display this list, and then we are going to sort this list using the sort function. If you see, I'm calling a function named sort, S-O-R-T, on my list. What this sort function is going to do is that it is going to arrange the values inside my list in ascending order. Okay. It is going to arrange the values of the words or the strings that are present inside my list in ascending order. And finally, I'm displaying the list once again. So let's execute the code till here and let's see how it works. This was my initial list, which is names is equal to this one, right? And the elements inside my list are in the same order as I initialize those. So first of all, we are having Richard Hendricks, then we are having Alec Bachman, which is here, right? Then we are having Gavin Belson, so it is coming right here. After that, we are having Monica. After that, we have Jared. And after that, we also have an empty value at the end of our list. So if I show you, this is the empty value at the end of our list because we have this empty value after Jared. After that, what we did, we sorted our list in ascending order using names.sort, and then we are displaying the list once again. So I am saying names in ascending order, which is displayed here, names in ascending order is equal to. So if you see, first of all, I'm getting that empty string, then I'm getting Alec Bachman, then Gavin Belson, then Jared Dunn, then Monica, and finally at the end, I'm getting Richard Hendricks. So what is happening is, when we sort our list of string in ascending order, first of all, it is going to consider the empty string. Okay. First of all, it is going to consider the empty string. And after that, it has arranged the elements or the strings that were present inside my list in ascending order alphabetically. So it has sorted the list alphabetically, which is why first we are getting Alec Bachman because it starts with E. Then we are getting Gavin Belson that starts with G. Then Jared, which starts with J. Then Monica because it starts with M. And finally, we are getting Richard Hendricks because it starts with R. So this is how it has sorted the list of strings in ascending order. Now what I want you to do, I want you to create a list of integer, a list of decimals, and a list of other primitive data types. And I want you to use this sort function to find out how it behaves or how the list is getting sorted when we call the sort function on our list. Let me know your observations in the comments down below. Now, if you remember, initially when we were getting started with this list, we got to know that we can create a list of any data type. We can create a list of primitive data types, which we have already seen, like, string, integer, boolean, etc. We can also create a list of collections. We can also create a list of S objects, and we can also create a list of custom data type. Now, for now, I'm only going to cover collections here, and the list of S objects and custom data types will be more clear when we learn about these topics first in the future tutorials. For now, let's see how we can create a list of collections. Now, a collection can be anything, right? It can be list as well, it can be set as well, it can be map as well. As of now, we have only studied about list. So I'm going to create a list of collection, that is a list of list. Okay. So we are going to create a list of lists and we'll see how that works. In order to create a list of lists, what we can do, we can simply say we are creating list of string, and the name is again names is equal to new list of string. So what we have done here, you can imagine it as a matrix. Okay, so you can imagine it as a matrix. Let's say I'm creating a list of strings. So this is the first list, this is the second list, this is the third list, and this is the fourth list. So I can have n number of values in each and every list, and I can have n number of values in my list of lists as well. So let's say this is the list of lists that I have created. Now, as you know that each list is going to have an index which is starting from 0, right? So let's say this is our list number 1. Now this list is having an index 0, an index 1, an index 2, an index 3, and index 4. Now let's consider that I want to store all the strings which starts with A in our list number 1. So what I can do, I can say I want to store Aman at index number 0. So this is Aman. Okay. I want to store Ashish at index number 1. I want to store Adam at index number 2. I want to store Anika at index number 3. So I have stored 4 values in this list, right? Initially, because I'm initializing it right here. Now in my second list, I want to store all the values or all the strings that start with B. I'm just considering a hypothetical use case. So I'm going to have Bob here. So it is going to have Bob. I'm going to have Bhanu here. So let's say BH for Bhanu, which is right here. And I'm going to have Blake here. So I can say BL. I'm going to have Benjamin here. So I can say BE. Although in reality, it will be the whole value, which is Benjamin. But here I'm just specifying you that, like this cell is going to have Aman. This cell is going to have Ashish AS, or this cell is going to have Adam. This cell is going to have Anika, right? So what I have done, I have created a list of lists. So either you can, imagine it like this, or you can also imagine it like this. So let's say I have a list, okay? And in each particular index, I think this will be more easier for you to imagine currently. So at each index, let's say this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3, this is index 4. And what I can say that at each index, I'm going to have a list. So this index 0 is having a list like this, and it is again having some indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's say at 0, I'm going to have Aman, and at 1, I'm going to have Ashish, I'm going to have Adam, here I'm going to have Anika, like that, okay? And this is not present at the moment, so let's just not consider this for now. So we have list till here. At index 1, similarly, I'm going to have another list. So I'm going to have another list, and this is again having 4 elements. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's say this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3. And I can say that I'm going to have Bob here, I'm going to have Bhanu here, I'm going to have Blake here, and I'm going to have Benjamin here. So this is what I have done here. I have created a list of string. So this is a list of string, which is initially empty. And then I'm saying I want to add to my list. So I'm going to add to my list, but I'm going to add a new list of string, which is having these 4 values: Aman, Ashish, Adam, Anika. So I'm going to add the first element to my list, which is having these 4 values. Then again, I'm using the add function to add another list. And this list is again having 4 values: Bob, Bhanu, Blake, Benjamin. So this list is again having 4 values, which is added to my list. So my final list is having 2 values currently. So this is not present. So this is the final list, which is having 2 values currently that I added using the add function. And the first value, or I can say the value at the first index, is a list of all the strings which are starting with A. And the value at the second index has all the strings which are starting with B. I hope the structure is clear to you till now. After that, what I have done, I have displayed my list, and here I am saying name starting with A is equal to names of 0, and name starting with B is equal to names of 1. So this is pretty clear, right? Because this is my main list, which is having 2 values, one at 0, one at 1, and this value is going to be a list. So it is going to be a list like this, and this value is again going to be a list. So this is again going to be a list. So this is having all the A values, and this is having all the B strings or B values. Now, if I say I want to display all the names that are starting with A, so what I'll do, I'll say names of 0, and names of 0 is nothing but this particular list, right? So it will display the list of all the strings which has the names with A. Similarly, if I want to display the names that are starting with B, I can say names of 1. So names of 1, which is this, it will display the whole list which are having the strings that are starting with B. Let's execute the code till here for now, and let's see what happens. So if you see, first of all, I'm having the initial list of names, which is nothing but it consists of two lists. So if you see, we are having a list inside a list, right? We are having a list inside a list. So there are two lists. This is list number 1. This is list number 2. They are separated by a comma, and we are having these two lists inside a bigger list. Okay. So this is the initial list. Then I am saying name starting with A is equal to names of 0. So all these values are present at index number 0, and all these values are present at index number 1 in my bigger list. So what I can say, if I display names of 0, it is going to display this particular list. So it is coming as Aman, Ashish, Adam, and Anika, right? And if I display list number 1 or the list at index 1, it is going to display this particular list, which is this one: Bob, Bhanu, Blake, and Benjamin. I hope the code is clear till now. We are just displaying the list that are present at index number 0 and index number 1 because we have created a list of string. Now let's say I want to display only one value. For example, I'm saying that I want to display Ashish, or let's say I want to display Blake. Then what will I do? Now, I know that my bigger list is like this. So we have two indexes, 0 and 1. And inside 0, I have a list. Here as well, I can say I have another list. Now I know that Aman is present here, and Ashish is present here, and Adam is present here, Anika is present here, right? Similarly, Bob is present here, and Bhanu is present here, and Blake is present here, and Benjamin is present here. Now what I'm saying, I want to display Ashish. So what I can do, I can say I want to get the 0th list. Okay, so names of 0, because I want to get the 0th list, and I want to get the element at index 1 from my 0th list. So I'm saying I want to get the element at index 1 from my list which is present at index 0. So at index 0, this list is present, and from this list I want to get the element which is present at index 1, which is this element. Okay, so this is how I'm going to display Ashish. Similarly, if I want to display Blake, then what will I do? I'm going to say this list is present at index 1. So I'm going to say I want to pick up the list which is present at index 1, and I want to pick up Blake. So Blake is present at index 0, index 1, index 2, right? Blake is present at index 2 inside my list. So I'm going to say, let's pick up the element which is present at index number 2 inside the list which is present at index number 1. Got it? So this is how this code is working. Let me execute this code and let's see how it works. I'm going to execute the whole code and let's see what happens. Now if you see, initially we are displaying both the lists. So we are displaying names, which is coming perfectly fine. So this is list number 1, this is list number 2. And now what we are doing, we are saying name starting with A is equal to this particular list, which is list number 1, coming fine because I'm using names of 0. Then I'm saying name starting with B is equal to this. So this is nothing but names of 1. So this is names of 1. It is coming fine. Then I'm saying the second name starting with A is equal to Ashish. So I want to display the second name which is starting with A, right? And the second name is going to be present at index number 1. So I can say names of 0 because I want to display the second name which is starting with A. So this is names of 0. And for the second name, I'm using the index 1, which is why it is coming as Ashish right here. Now I'm saying I want to display the third name starting with B. So the names that are starting with B are present at index number 1. I'm saying names of 1, and the third name will be present at index number 2. So I'm saying index number 2 here. So names of 1 because I want to pick up the names or the list which is having the names starting with B. And I want to pick up the third name, which is at index number 2. So it is coming as Blake. If you see, this is the first name, this is the second name, this is the third name. And the third name, Blake, is present at index number 2. So this is how I'm referring the elements which are present inside my list, though I have a list of lists. This is more easier to understand if you use the matrix notation. So for example, if I create a matrix like this, and if I say that I have a list which is having an index 0 and is having an index 1. So, instead of considering a list in the horizontal fashion, I'm considering it in a vertical fashion. So this is index 0, this is index 1. And at index 0, I'm having a list. And at index 1, also I'm having a list. So both these lists are having 4 elements. So I can say that this is Aman, this is Ashish, right? This is Adam, this is Anika. Similarly, I can say this is Bob, this is Bhanu, this is Blake, and this is Benjamin. One thing I know, that both of these lists will be having indexes as well. So it will start from index 0, index 1, index 2, and index 3. So if you consider this list, or if you consider this list, the index is common, right? This is also index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3. So now let's say I want to display Ashish, right? So Ashish is present at 0 and 1, right? 0 and 1, which is why I'm using 0 and 1 here. So if you see, this is more easier to identify. If I want to display Blake, so Blake is present at 1 and 2. Okay, so this is how I can find out Blake. So this is why I have used 1 and 2 here. So using the matrix notation, it is even more easier to find out the indexes for the strings or for the values that you want to extract from your two-dimensional lists. We'll be dealing with these kind of lists when we are going to write some complex code in the future tutorials. But for now, I hope it is clear that how you can create a list of lists or how you can create a list of collections. And you can have anything here. You can have map as well. You can have set as well. I'm not using map and set because we haven't studied that yet. But we can have any kind of collection to create a list of collections. So even if you're having a list of other collections instead of list here, it will be in a similar fashion like we have done for lists. So the parent container is still going to be a list. So I can say that we'll have a list as the parent container. And inside this, instead of having a list like we were having, so instead of this, we can have a map. Or so let's say this is the map. I'm just considering it as a map for now. Or let's say we can have a set. So let's say this is a set. So instead of having a list, we can have a map, we can have a set, or we can have other things inside it. But a parent container will still be a list because we are talking about creating a list of collections. So the collection inside this can be different, but the parent container will be list. We'll talk about it more as we move forward. But for now, we are done with the collection number 1, that is list. In the next tutorial, we are going to get started with sets. I hope you liked this tutorial. Let me know your feedback in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.